do you know that there are like 1 out of 7 individuals are disabled in the world, right? And it's kind of 1 billion people around the world. It's a huge number. Like World Health Organization had found that these numbers are there existing, right? It doesn't matter, right? Don't just think of like the blind people alone. There are many kind of disabilities in the world. Mobility impaired, cognitive disabilities, color contrast, low vision, many kind of categories are there, right? So that's why I'm telling it's a huge number, and we should take care of that, and we should start thinking of that. It's the world's largest minority, 15% of world population. So you have to have a feel on it. Okay, famous people are there also with disabilities. Singers and Beethoven, he's born deaf, and everyone knows Einstein had difficulties when he was a kid, and Tom Cruise and Richard Branson, they they are also having dyslexia. It's also sort of something like learning disability, and even this famous guy within you guys. Anyone can tell what's his type of disability? Anyone? Okay, he's colorblind to red and green. So can you imagine why Facebook is blue with all the themes? Wherever you see, Facebook is blue, right? It's because this guy is colorblind to red and green. So he doesn't want to use those colors. So that's why he sticks with blue. And when it comes to accessibility, what comes to your mind? Comes to before talking around the world, what do you think of Sri Lanka? What's come to your mind? What sort of facilities that we have taken in like government offices, banks, and everywhere? You get something like this. It's called the ramp. You get to see in Cargills, banks, and everywhere. This is something for wheelchair access, right? So around the world, there are many more facilities that developed, right? Guide dogs, mobility vehicles, and even accessible pools, and electronic staircases that you can press a button and go upstairs. You don't have to walk in, like people with Parkinson's and all. You can just do that, and accessible gyms and sports. So we are in the software industry developing for outsiders, especially markets like US, Europe. These kind of people exist there, not people who use the ramp only, right? And what are we talking about? Are we delivering their needs, right? These guys are so much developed, but what about our software? Are we catering to their needs also, right? They expect our software to be accessible, right? It's not only these facilities, including the software, they expect that. Okay, it's a base requirement at these giant companies, right? Facebook or Google, everywhere. They have separate teams to address accessibility, to audit accessibility, right? So what have we done? What we basically can do in our industry, right? At Pearson, we do have accessibility teams, a specialized team to review all the work, because we also value our learners to know, like, we can't restrict learners without, like, rather than saying, okay, you are disabled, you are blind, you can't access our education software. You can't, basically, right? With law, it stops us also. With in US, there are laws, so you have to cater accordingly. Okay, what is accessibility? So accessibility is like equal access to everyone. There should be no barriers. So that's the pretty simple term for accessibility. So web accessibility, also same. So when you access web, there shouldn't be any barriers. It can be any system, portal, or player, whatever, and even documents, animations or videos, it has to be accessible. At Pearson, we do that, right? We cannot differentiate or discriminate any type of student because they have the right to learn. Every learner is important for us. Right? So, okay, how people with disabilities use these software? Like it's with assistive technology. To explain assistive technology, I would like to give a simple example. Before coming to technology, what do you mean by assistive device? So I like in this room itself, you use some of them use an assistive device. Anybody can tell? Spectacles, glasses. So I have low vision. I've used this spectacles to have clear vision. Similarly, few of you guys, right? So it's an assistive device, right? Likewise, people use screen readers in desktop. It reads the screen louder. So I'll show like just an example. Even this mobile, and you have also speech recognition software. You can give speech input. Dragon is the famous one, and you have Windows and mobile also support with speech, and zooming tools for people with low vision, and mobile screen readers. So in the mobile screen readers, you have something called screen reader inbuilt. So with Android, you have TalkBack. With iOS, you have VoiceOver, right? Mac, you get VoiceOver as well, right? So I'll just show you an example. I'm just on the. Holding
down two fingers to enable accessibility. Accessibility enabled. Talkback on. Media volume.
So it's
Music
basically.
Volume set to Wi-Fi.
I'm reading the settings
On,
right
switch. Now. Bluetooth off. Settings. Bluetooth.
I don't have to see. Just if you want to scroll down.
Data usage. More. Notifications.
So you guys also can feel about that. It's scrolling. It shows that it's scrolling.
Buttons.
You can't see that, but you can hear it. So
Battery.
Just imagine that you're blind. Okay. Maybe you may be blind when you get older. Who never knows? So it's good to know these type of features. Forget about coding. Okay. So try to learn this stuff, and our applications should also be focused on that. Because if you want to go back of this application, you just do a gesture like that, it will go back.
1 of 5. Showing item
It's
1
that
of
easy.
5.
So it
Alert
calls.
power off. Home. Alert power off.
It keeps you like informing what's happening with the status update. So how to make it accessible? Your code. It's not easy. You have to put some effort, but once you start doing it, doing the practices, it will be a habit, and it will be inbuilt, and then it will be easy, right? So first thing, coding. So let me explain that with simple examples. So everyone knows title tag, HTML. Everyone knows, right? I think many. Okay. So like you may have seen that in this location, where I have circled, that is where the title tag appears, right? In some places you see untitled, right? So with screen readers, if you have put, if you haven't put anything within the title, screen readers will pick it up. It doesn't inform that unique page name, right? So make sure when you do the coding, add a unique title to each page, unique title, okay? So that the screen reader will pick it. So every time you go to a different page, add a different title. For buttons, images, right? So can you like a blind see this button saying the back arrow? You can't, right? But with pressing the key G with JAWS on, JAWS is a screen reader, with JAWS on, pressing the button key G, they can identify the button. Unless you have specified with alt text, everyone knows alt text, right? Okay. Unless you specify that alt text, those screen readers will not use it, right? So you make sure if there is an information image, not decorative image. So decorative image is used for layout purposes. So these kind of things are informative image. Make sure you have a proper meaningful alt text, right? And headings. So people they don't much concern into this. They'll try to do it with style sheets. It's very important to have headings like, you know, H1 to H6. Everyone have learned that simple things, right? You know, H1 with the first bigger heading, and it can continue up to H6. So for a given page in accessibility standards, you should have only one H1, right? And rest of the heading types you can have duplicates. So for one page, one H1, right? So these are all like standards, best practices that you need to follow. So it's all coming with W3C standards. So there is something called WCAG 2.0. I think some of you have heard about it. WCAG stands for Web Accessibility Content Guidelines. So list is another important thing. So when it comes to chunks that read together, how a blind can understand, okay, these things belongs together, right? People with disability understand, okay, these list is belong together. Unless you specify it as a list, right? So these are all unordered list here, unordered list and list properly listed. You basically screen readers cannot pick it up. They basically read the HTML DOM, right? So even though you do it with style sheet, it doesn't matter. Okay, now the second point, functional. So functional, like people with disabilities need extra time. Let's take an example as let's say exam, right? So you need to give some extra time for the user, right? Let's say because they cannot do the same thing that is done by a normal user. So you have to have a place to increase the time limit, because in broad they specifically ask, are you having some disabilities? If you check that box, they will be given special privileges, okay, kind like these. So our applications also should support these kind of features in functional aspect. So when it comes to videos, the videos also we need to give options to play, pause, you know, and slide through the time bar, and captions. So what's like everyone has seen subtitles, captions. So normally in Hindi movies or English ones, there are subtitles is going. You may have found it's very easy for many, right? It's basically been used helpful for people who cannot hear, right? So that they can read. It's also helping us also. So with accessibility features on, it helps everyone in the world, right? It helps basically increase the usability of your application. Okay, so when it comes to instructions, so you are adding all these instructions everywhere, you know, for every single bit of pieces you add instructions, and even help. There are many instructions given. Have you thought about simplifying that? Have you thought about everyone can understand the language that you're talking about? Have you put effort to simplify it further, reduce the number of words that you use? So there is a law in US called plain text language. So you can visit plainlanguage.gov. They have like simplified the vocabulary that we have used further, right? So I want you to try it out. So instead of saying accordingly, what we can say? Come on. Accordingly. So attempt. Can someone try? I already told try. Okay, discontinue, stop, alright, exhibit, show, very good, identical, same, modify, change, frequently, often, request, ask, yes, numerous, many, requirement, need, alright. So you can see that even these kind of like we basically use these words very frequently, but these also can be simplified, right? When you add the instructions to your page, just think about this also, where I can simplify, so do it. So it helps others who use the applications. Okay, third part, design. So color contrast chart is available here. So this portion is like highly visible, as you can see, because it has the best color combinations, color contrast combinations. Okay, the left corner, the top one, it has a fair view on it, but this kind of thing here, it's clearly poor. I think half of you cannot see from over there. If you have low visions, it's terrible. So it's good to have high color contrast combination when you design applications, right? So think about this also. So there is a nice tool called Color Contrast Analyzer. It basically checks for the color ratio. This is kind of so this is the word that I have, like this, like this red color wording with white background. So for foreground you have to check with you have to apply to this red color text, and for background you have to check white. Then the ratio will be available here. The minimum ratio should be 451. This is RGB, and for accessibility compliance it has to be AA standards, right? So just try this color contrast analyzer. It's available as a standalone tool as well as with the web accessibility toolbar. There is something called web accessibility toolbar. It's available there also. Okay. Okay, graphs. I have mentioned bad in this side and good in that side. Okay. So what's bad about this graph? So it's different with different colors. It has legends. You basically you can't say that it's bad, but when it comes to all the types of users, it is bad. Why? So let's try with color blindness. Okay, can you differentiate now? So like people with color blindness or having difficulties with vision, they cannot differentiate. Even these legends, countries as legends, they cannot identify which graph to use. So the better one is this. So you can differentiate the design with dotted lines, with dashes, a single line, and you can point out rather than just having legends. Okay, so you can have legends also, that's fine, with different types of lines. So this actually helps every user to identify, and it's helpful for everyone basically, right? Sometimes you may find difficult to read graphs. Okay, how to represent graphs in like for people with disabilities, like total blindness, so they cannot read graphs. Okay, either you could have a long description for a graph, or best approach is to have a hidden table, right? So graph can be put into hidden table, right? You can hide it with style sheets so that only a screen reader can use it. Okay, I spoke about Mark Zuckerberg. He is colorblind to red and green. So this is the way he sees these type of pencils. So anyone of you see similarly? So if you see that, you may also have some color blindness. So it's okay to have color blindness. For men, it's totally okay, because 8% of men are colorblind in the world. Do you know that? and 1%, less than 1% of women are colorblind. So can you imagine why they are blaming your like spouse, like husband, boyfriend every time when you go to shopping? Okay, that's pretty much it. Now you know, you don't have to blame. It's like that. It's natural. Okay, if you have a doubt, you also can check whether you have color blindness difficulty. So this is kind of these are like, even with the screen resolution you cannot see. So these are having numbers. So with the colorblind test, if you are having any difficulties, you only see two numbers like this, 25 and 56. Okay, so you can do it yourself. There is something called Enchroma test. Enchroma test, it's available free of charge. You can do it because there are like other types of color combinations also. It's not only red and green, there are other types. So you can check with Enchroma test, and if you want, the app is there with me also. You can come and have a look and just see whether you're colorblind or you're fine. So it doesn't matter that it's very important to know that you're colorblind, so that you won't be having fights or arguments with other people, or other people are blaming at you. Okay. Let's do a quick demo with JAWS on. So let me do it later. So now you know the screen reader. So I've taken some random page in US. So this page, basically I was talking about this web accessibility toolbar. It's a very friendly toolbar to use for any person. So basically, if you want to find out headings, you can find out headings. This is H1, H2, right? And if you need to find out list items, it indicates, right? And so keyboard accessibility is also very important. So make sure that is like it's available. It indicates where you are, right? It's also within the guidelines. How do like blind people see a website? Does the style sheet really matters to them? Not really, right? Okay, let's remove the style sheet. Okay, this is the view that they see, they read. This is called the linear view. So this is the order that they read. It doesn't matter having images. It doesn't matter that your style sheet is there. It's like this. So let me tell another benefit of having like using proper coding standards. Let's say some users use their own style sheets, right? Because they have different color blindness, different vision levels, so that they use different style sheet, customized style sheet. So with these two headings, so I'll be using a customized style sheet, just having with simple styles in it for H1 and H2. So let me upload it here. With internet options, there is a feature called accessibility. You can upload it. So it got increased and the color got changed. So this is another benefit of having a proper coding standard. So they can have their own customized style sheet, right? For table with TRs and TDs still can be replaceable, right? Paragraphs, everything can be replaceable, links, everything. You can adjust that. Let's try with the screen reader now. So this is JAWS, it's a licensed software, it costs $900. There are free software also.
Accessibility.house.gov-internet tab, United States tab, Visitors link tab, Educators and tab, Media link tab, Doing Biz tab, Search colon edit tab, Search tab, enter your zip code edit, type in text.
Just close your eyes, still you can go through it.
Tab,
If
find
it's
button.
accessible, right? If it's properly coded, you can. So just can you all try? Okay, just imagine that you're blind. Okay, just try.
Tab, representative tab, leadership
Just see
link.
how difficult for them to understand.
Tab, the house explained link, tab, mobile site link.
So I'm going to try with headings.
Accessibility heading level 1. Accessibility on the house campus in Washington, D.C. heading level 2.
It denotes this is the structure of the page, right? Let's try with different list.
List of 4 items.
List of 4 items. I press the keyboard L.
Bullet wheelchairs are available for use by visitors in the Capitol complex. Individuals entering through the Capitol Visitor Center may escape.
So with L you can list down all the lists basically, and with item you can read out each item with pressing I. Okay, those are short keys that is available. So it's pretty interesting that if you also can it doesn't matter that your application is not supporting accessibility, but make sure that you follow proper coding standard at least, because it's a good practice, right? Because we never know that in the future, right, your customers would come and ask you, okay, why your system is not accessible, because it's a human right. They may come and ask you. So it's better to apply that, because it's a good practice. It's highly demanding in other countries, not like in Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka also it will develop probably after like another 2-3 years. It will come to practice with the United Nations agreements with Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. This will come to play. So it's very important that you stick into this. All right. So do you have any questions for me?
With the current trend with dynamic web pages, client side, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
is this doable in Snapchat?
Yes. Even with scroll bars, it's dynamic. There is something called area. ARIA. With that, it's possible, right? With dynamic updates, even those notifications should be notified to the user. With having those tags inside of those dynamic updates, you can. It picks up. So I just gave a insight of accessibility. It's not because many in the industry still don't have that much of exposure to accessibility. So probably next time I can do a much further complex one, right? So it can be done. So area technology is the best option. Any questions? No? Everything's clear? Do you have any people with color blindness? Ladies, any questions? No? All right. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and please contact me, and this is my email. Thank you very much.